Your Humanities Half Hour is brought to you by the Northern Marianas Humanities Council.
Papaday Zantiro, welcome to Your Humanities Half Hour. I'm Catherine Perry, and today we're continuing our series called Making Marianas Home, featuring people from around the world who have come to live in the Marianas. Our guest today is originally from the state of Yap, Michael Finney. Welcome, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
And thanks for making time to chat with us. What made you decide to come to Saipan, and when did you get here?
Really, I think I came in around September of 2003, and it just that the economy back home kind of dropped. I used to own a business back then.
What kind of business?
A small gift shop. And then after the 9/11 hits, if we compare the tourists from here to Yap, it's like from every 20 tourists that comes here, 2 or 3 goes to Yap. Something like that. So after 9/11 hit, it really went down to the point where, man, it's pretty bad. Most of my customers were local at that time. So I even changed my artwork to target the local customer, because it's really hard to hit the tourism at that time. And so I know Guam. I used to live in Guam before, back in the days, so I didn't want to be in Guam. And the next closest thing to Yap I can think of is Saipan. So well, let's try Saipan. My wife's brother lives here, so we moved over here.
So you kind of had that support system available to help you when you came?
Yeah, for the first month when I came, we had to live with my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law also, and yeah, it took me about almost a month. And that time the garment is still open, so fortunately, I was looking for the first thing I can get my hand on, to start moving on my own. So I took garment and move my family.
And you mentioned your artwork, and I think most people who are familiar with your name know you as a prolific artist here in the Marianas. And we'll spend a little bit more time in the second half of our show talking about that part of your life. But working for the garment industry, how long did you do that, and were you satisfied?
No, I did it just out of desperation. I'm one of those people that I don't want to depend on anybody. Doesn't matter how much I struggle. I want to do it on my own. That's another reason why sometimes I couldn't get along with my family too, because I'm the baby in the family. And I didn't want anybody, to be telling me you cannot do this, you cannot do that, or do this. I can help you with this. I'm like, you can do it on your own.
You want to prove.
Yeah, it's like I have this thing in me. Sometimes it comes out like I have this thing I want to prove to everybody. So yeah, I got the garment job for about a year, and then I heard that the garment was gonna close down. So I'm like, oh, dear Lord, what am I going to do now? So I know I can do with carving, so I started looking around. And first flame tree came around, and I go around and look at all the booth.
Flame Tree
I think
Arts
that's
Festival.
the first time I met you in the Flame Tree. I saw you at that time at the Flame Tree. And
we are so old, Michael.
You didn't have to put it that way. Come on. And
then you kind of realized that there might be an opportunity for you to.
I was looking at the artwork and I'm like, man,
art?
I think I can do this better than most of these guys. I think my work is way better than that part of me again came out like I have something to prove. So
In those early days when you first got here, was Saipan what you expected? Probably had an idea before you came.
well, I thought it's gonna be harder than I was really nervous because I came to Saipan, believe it or not, I came to Saipan with only $700 in my pocket. And I thought I have this thing like, I was young and naive. I was like, you can do this. Nobody got anything over you.
And you came with your family. You were
Yeah.
married already. Did you have any children?
Yeah, I have my daughter with me.
Ah, okay.
And I'm like, now if you put me in that same situation again, I wouldn't do it with only $700.
Why?
No way. It's not. I would never recommend that to anybody. I was lucky
Yeah.
because thinking about it now, that's one paycheck. I'm like, now when I think about it, I'm like, my Q was so dumb. What the hell would you think? You don't do that.
Now, you're from the main island
Yeah.
of Yap, which is pretty conservative. Yap is quite conservative, I would say, definitely compared to America, even compared to the Marianas. Was there culture shock from you as a fellow Micronesian moving
No.
here to the Marianas?
Not at all, because I was living in Guam before. I was living in the state, and then I lived in Palau. So when I came to Saipan, it's not as hard as I thought it's gonna be. And the culture here is pretty similar to Yap. There's just slight differences.
Okay.
Like how now I saw this when I first came. I saw this young boy arguing with the mom, and then he cursed the mom, and I'm like, what's gonna happen? I thought that the mom is gonna probably slap, and the mom kind of like just scolded him, and I'm like, you don't do that back home. You don't. That shocked me, because you don't do that at home. If I did that during my time back, probably my father will kill me. I wouldn't be here today. So yeah, those are the slight differences in the not because these people don't the kids here don't respect their parents, but I think all the nationalities that are mixed in one place, different culture, and then sometimes they'll just let go and something like that, I think. But
I think a lot of people, they maybe don't really see much of the Yapese culture, especially from the mainland, unless they see a performance at, like you said, the Flame Tree Arts Festival. It's the girls with the really brightly colored hibiscus skirts.
Yeah.
And then maybe also with the outer island culture in the sailing. But can you give us a little idea of how the Yap community is connected in the Marianas? Do you do functions together? Do you have an association?
We actually have the Yapese community here, because they asked me to be a part of it and of that group, the Yap community group, and they're young people now. So I told them, I can support you guys in any way I can. If you guys need any of my help, I will. But as far as joining you guys on every meeting, there's just no way possible for me now. I'm way too, I got art going and I'm working. My schedule is so tight. I told them, it's just not possible. If you guys need help, like fundraising or something, I could help with that. They've done a couple of performances during the Flame Tree, even the Liberation Day. I saw them at the Liberation Day one time. Yeah, most Yapese here are pretty connected, but then again, we're on foreign land. We're not most of this young generation now are into like doing their own thing where they work back home or something like that, like what I'm doing now. And so,
versus like in Yap where they might be like working the land or
yeah,
growing
if we're back
crops.
in Yap,
Yeah.
it won't be like that because, you know, when they said, because there's culture in it also, which over here now we don't really follow our culture because there's a saying in Yap, when you're not in Yap, leave the culture in Yap, don't take it with you. you know, some of the culture you just cannot take. I mean, we take our culture with us, but not all.
Not everything.
Yeah,
you have to adjust to
you
where
have
you're at.
You have to adjust to it because, or you won't survive. If you take the culture from Yap here, you can't make it. It's not gonna happen. If you really put it into a perspective, you can only adapt and live with what's in front of you. So,
what's it been like for you with you and your wife, and how many kids do you have?
I have 3.
With you raising your family here and maybe a lot of your family being in Yap, what have been the benefits you feel to that and challenges?
Well, I got my 2 oldest out of the house, so that's great. so that's the good part. The youngest one is still at the house. We're doing okay. I was depending on the art, but this COVID thing and all the stuff, it's almost like the 9/11 back home. What the COVID did over here now, it's like the 9/11 when I have to move over here. So now I'm working as a construction worker. So
doing what you need to do to take care of your family.
So far we're okay.
Well, we're chatting today with Michael Finney, originally from Yap, about his life here in the Marianas. And when we come back, we're going to spend a little bit more talking about what he's probably best known for, and that's his artwork. We'll be back after this break.
Did you know that you can donate up to $5,000 to the Humanities Council through the CNMI Education Tax Credit Program? Donations from individuals and corporations qualify and can be used to offset your local wage and salary tax, BGRT, and earnings tax. Call our office at 235-4785 to see how you can support humanities programs in our community and obtain a tax credit for your donation. Sizuus Maasi, Olomai, and thank you.
Welcome back to Your Humanities Half Hour. We are continuing our Making Marianas Home series with Michael Finney. Michael, tell us a little bit about your artwork, what type of artwork you do, and how you got into it.
I do a lot of different artwork, but I'm really fond of wood carving. I love wood carving. There are times I find myself looking at a piece of wood, like I catch myself like, what the hell am I doing? You know, I'm looking at a piece of wood and there's different things I can see on it that other people don't see. So that's what I usually bring out from each piece of wood. And
how did you get into wood carving?
I was still, I think I was not even in grade school yet.
Do a lot of young people carve in Yap?
Now, most of the people who's carving back home came out from my carving shop when I had my shop. So I started like 7 or 8 years old. And my dad do it as a hobby. My dad is a carpenter, and on his days off, he'll get a chunk of wood and, you know, play around with it. And, you know, in Yap, father goes fishing. Here I am right next to his carving board and looking at it, and I'm like, yeah, I can do this. Take the tools and get on that thing, and when he comes back, you're like, boy, don't touch my carving, please. You're making it harder for me.
So these are like storyboards that he was carving, where they
not
carve
only storyboard, he also does, one thing he does that I cannot do is statue. Warrior statue. He does beautiful statue. I could never do that. I mean, I do it, but not as good as he does. He has mastered it to a point where I cannot. That's the only thing he does. Until now, I cannot do it like he does.
Why do you think you're attracted to this form of artwork versus painting or What is it about wood carving that you?
I love drawing. I mean, it has to go hand in hand. You have to be a good artist at like drawing and painting to become a wood carver. Otherwise, it's just not gonna work. You have to have the passion for art. And then, I find that when I was drawing on paper, I can go to a certain I can do 3D, but then it doesn't look as good as it will be on the wood when I carve it on the wood. So I said, when I try it on the wood, I'm like, man, I can't do this. It's live, And there's things in the wood, on the wood, that you can see as an artist that other people cannot see, and especially like storyboard, for example. If you can take a piece of wood and make see a story on it, and then like compare it to one of the historical story, which you can turn it into a storyboard. It's pretty what do you call it, the finishing is really self-satisfying, or something, what do you call. And each piece of wood has its own character. They're never going to be the same. It's unique. With paintings, take that piece of paper, put it under a Xerox copy or printer, and then you can duplicate it. With wood carving, there's no way you can duplicate it. It's next to impossible.
Every piece is unique.
Every piece is unique on its own.
Well, one of the reasons I love to stop by your booth during the Flame Tree, other than the fact that you and your wife are so pleasant and welcoming to everybody, but I can usually learn something about the Yapese culture. Last year the year before last, it was a interesting legend about a spider, I think. Was that the year you carved a spider?
Yeah, but that story is from Palau.
How do you feel about using your talent to share your culture with the world and the culture of Micronesia with the world?
Man, I didn't think it could. I didn't think I could go that far, but it did, and I'm happy it did, I guess. Micronesia is such a small place. In fact, I don't think half of the people in this world know about Micronesia. So if you can take that story here, and then it's more like an advertisement for the islands, I guess. And even when I went to a couple of, like, in World Wood Day in California. When we went to California, it's like when the people learn where I'm from, they told them, I'm from Yap, but I actually reside in the CNMI. They're like, where is CNMI? And close to Guam. Where is Guam? I'm like, yeah, next. You heard of Hawaii? Some of them have actually heard of Hawaii, but some of them haven't. I'm like, okay, if you've heard of Hawaii, it's around that region.
Keep going another 8 hours. Yeah.
So yeah, it's a good. I guess it's a good advertisement for the islands. And if a couple of tourists bring booze or work over there and display it, and get somebody to come and visit the island, I think it's a good thing for the community itself.
You won some kind of recognition a number of years ago where you were able to go to, I think it was Nepal?
Yeah, Nepal, and the trip to Nepal and California is the same organization. It's the World Wood Carving Society. It's more like how you put it, the NFL of wood carving, something like that. They'll pay for everything, including your hotels and plane ticket. They'll even pay your time for wood carving, and they'll bring you there with a whole bunch of other artists all over the world, and you guys will just do a demonstration, and after that they'll take the carving and I think they'll, from what I understand, I didn't really get it when I was in Nepal, but in California, all these big shots came and, you know, I'm like, if only these people see where I'm from, they'll never think of me as a VIP or something like that. They're like, they'll come and buy the work at a really high price. I'm like, man, why are we selling our work back home at that really cheap price, you know? If these people can buy it at this rate, why are we selling our work so cheap? So yeah, we get along with a bunch of whole other artists, and in Nepal we had 4 days. I think that's the fastest I've ever carved in my life. The last day I have to carve to finish my work because I've never carved that fast. When we went to select our wood, I saw this beautiful piece of wood. I'm like, I like this, but I forgot that I have very minimal tools on my hand.
Oh.
So after the third day, I'm still like, there's no way I'm gonna finish this. Why did I even pick this in the first place? So the very last day, I had to carve from 6 in the morning to 12 midnight just to finish that piece of work.
What did you carve?
It's a sculpture of a reef scene. And it's like
wow.
3 feet tall by 2 feet. It's a huge chunk of wood. Yeah, but it's hollow inside. So I get to poke all these holes on it to make a reef scene with fish coming in and out of the coral. And I'm like, I'm cursing myself on the last day. I'm like, what the hell did you get your...
Were you satisfied
when
you were done?
The outcome was pretty satisfying. We got all these guys from the Asian country came, and the funny thing that I find out later on is most of these people carve Buddha or they have horses, flowers, bird, you know, all this Asian carving, but mine is different, and it doesn't look anywhere near, you know, these people has been carving all their life. Like, I mean, I've been carving half of my life, but not as
you
good
were
as this.
young life then, that time.
These people, I think they're passing it down from families to families.
Ah.
And
the knowledge.
Yeah, they're like, that's their business in the family. So they're really, I've seen people carve, like, some of them can carve a leaf, and if they paint it, you will think it's a real leaf. So they're just carving it. That's how thin they can carve. They can carve paper thin.
Wow.
And
so how did you feel being among these
when I put my carving artists there, all of them were like, wow. And I'm like, seriously?
They were staring at you.
Yeah, because it's so different from their work.
Yeah.
They're admiring it like, that's the first day. I'm like, thank God.
You deserve to be there, Mike.
But I know their work is way better than mine, except that it looks different. It's so different from what they're doing that it kind of like blow them away. And I'm like, these people are great artists, and they're really admiring me. You know, it's crazy.
You were mentioning earlier about the value of the artwork. You know, the saying goes, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Do you think value is in the eye of the beholder? And do you think we're doing a good job of valuing what we as artists produce here?
We, at least most of the artists here does, but there are times when they, you know, especially the younger generation now, they'll just take their work for like how many days of work and sell it for like 40 or even 20. I've seen somebody actually sell a carving. He actually sold it to me for like $25, and this carving is worth $100 just so he can buy beer. And I'm like, I'll buy it from you, but I'm not gonna buy it at $25 because I'm gonna make money from it. So yeah, I'll buy it. So I bought the carving at like half the price, and then I end up selling that, putting the actual price on it and sell it. And what I always try to tell them is, come on, man, don't sell it, don't devalue your work. It's because if you pull down the price, then the next artist is gonna feel like they have to sell there also. They have to go, and then what we're doing is trying to get our cut our price down to the point where our work will become, there will be no value to it. Even our culture, it's like that's our culture we're selling out. Don't sell it cheap. It's just not worth it. If if you put a price on it, it's your own sweat and blood that you put a good price on it. Have pride in your work, and if somebody doesn't buy it, somebody will eventually buy it.
Do you think that living here in the Marianas has helped you as an artist? Or influenced you as an artist? And if so, how?
When I was back home, I do it as a job, I have my own shop and thing, but I didn't really look at it like, back home, even if I don't work back home, no problem, I can survive. But I didn't look at it as something so serious where, had I known back in the days, or if somebody had motivated me to go to art school or something, I think it would have been, or if I had grown up in the CNMI, where they're serious about arts and stuff like that, I think it would have been so different. Because when I was gonna go to college, I didn't think, I know I'm good at art at that time, but I didn't take art so seriously. So I took air conditioning and refrigeration in college. After finishing it, I spent 2 years there and I didn't like it. After I learned about air conditioning and refrigeration, I didn't like it. So until now, I never worked on air conditioning and refrigeration, and I didn't like it at all. So, because air conditioning and refrigeration has only 4 parts, where artwork, I can do a lot of thousands of different things on wood, and that's the thing. It has to be different every time, or it's not gonna be the same. I think that's what really makes me like art and wood carving. So when I moved to this CNMI, and so everybody's so serious about art, I'm like, this is my place. This is where I belong. This is my world. And like after 2 years here, I tried to look for wood carving tools. Couldn't get any. So the time I start working in Hyatt, so I order my tools online. Lo and behold, first flame tree I got sold out.
I think you're sold out every flame tree.
Yeah, but I didn't expect it on the first flame tree.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is my first, and I got sold out before the last day, and I'm like, this is, and it motivated me. I wish the younger generation will see how much you can earn if you're really serious into artwork and stuff like that. If they're serious about it, they can actually really make a good living out of it. So, because I went to the point where I'm starting to display my stuff at the hotels, to the point where the demand is just, I couldn't catch up with the demand. So I'm like, man, this is my even I was doing duty free. I love Saipan, and it's good. It's a good thing. It just, the demand is, there's so much demand that it motivates me to the point where I couldn't do as much as the demand is. I just need more people. So I went to the point where I kind of like, pull back. You cannot go that big. It's too soon to go that big. Pull back and do it. So I did it at the house until the COVID-19 thing. And then I get into construction.
Well, hopefully things will turn around this year for all of us. I really want to thank you for sharing your story with us today. Any final thoughts before we go?
Oh, yeah, I hope COVID will go away soon. Can't wait to get back to wood carving.
Well, thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you so much.
We've been chatting today with Michael Finney, originally from Yap, and he's lived here in the Marianas for about 2 decades, sharing his story. This has been your Humanities Half Hour. I'm Catherine Perry.
This program was supported by a We the People grant awarded to the Northern Marianas Humanities Council from the National Endowment for the Humanities. Any views, findings, conclusions, or recommendations expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily represent those of the National Endowment for the Humanities or the Northern Marianas Humanities Council.